गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा जय राधा रमण राधा जय राधा माधव राधा जय राधा विनोद राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम गौरनीताय जय गौरनीताय जय गौरनीता जय पंचतत्वा पंचतत्वा जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय श्रीमद परम स्पिरिचुअल स्तोत्र सदास मंत्र जन के सभाचरण भक्ति प्रपाद महाराज की जय इस्कॉन संस्थापक का श्रील प्रपाद महाराज की जय कृष्ण कृपा श्रील प्रपाद महाराज की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रपाद महाराज की जय जय श्रीमद परम स्पिरिचुअल स्तोत्र सदास मंत्र जन के भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की नमाचार श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर प्रेम को जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ राधा गुण श्याम कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम जगन्नाथपुरी द्वारका धाम गंगे मैम माया की जय तुलसी भक्ति देव की जय all glories to assemble you all glories to assemble you all glories to assemble you all glories to Shri Guru Ji Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So welcome to all devotees for today's Bhagavatam session. We are taking from 3rd canto 27th chapter and 21 to 25. We'll start with the prayers. Pamagnana Timiran Dasya Gananjana Shalaka Akshuran Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Stapitam Yena Bhutale Rupakadamahyam Dadati Sudantam Unde Ham Shri Gurum Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham from Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lilita Shri Shakanta हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी प्रभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वांछा कल्पतरुषि कृपा सिंधु पावन वैष्णवभ्यो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiret Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtuki. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So, the shloka is like this. I'll read the shloka and listen. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Animitta Nimittena Swadharmena Malatmana Tivraya Maya Bhaktya Cha Shruta Samvrataya Chiram. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Animitta Nimittena Swadharmena Malatmana Tivraya Maya Bhaktya Cha Shruta Samvratyaya Chiram. What meaning? Bhagavan Vacha. So, okay, translated. Only this I will read the synonyms just to maintain the decorum. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Animitta Nimittena, without desiring the fruits of activities, Swadharmena, by executing one's prescribed duties, Amala Atmana, with a pure mind, Tivraya, serious, Mai, unto me, Bhaktya, by devotion service, Cha, and Shruta, hearing, Samvrthaya, endowed with Chiram, for a long time. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one can get liberation by seriously discharging devotional service unto me, and thereby hearing for a long time about me or from me. By thus executing one's prescribed duties, there will be no reaction and one will be freed from the contamination of matter. But I'll just take a few, one paragraph, then later on devotees can read according to the queue system. I'll read the first paragraph. Sridhar Swami comments in this connection that by association with material nature alone, one does not become conditioned. Conditional life begins only after one is infected by the modes of material nature. If someone is in contact with the police department, that does not mean that he is a criminal. As long as one does not commit criminal acts, even though there is a police department, he is not punished. Similarly, the liberated soul is not affected, although he is in the material nature. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead is supposed to be in association with material nature when he descends, but he is not affected. One has to act in such a way that in spite of being in the material nature, he is not affected by contamination. Although the lotus flower is in association with water, it does not mix with the water. That is how one has to live, as described here by the Personality of Godhead, Kapil Deva, Animitta Nimittena, Swadharmena Amalatmana. Krishna. So the devotees can read the next paragraph.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, whoever is in the queue.
Shanti Mataji can read.
Yeah.
One
Hare Krishna,
paragraph Shanti Mataji, and second paragraph Vasudha Mataji, and third paragraph Sudha Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams. One can be
Yes,
liberated. Yeah, one can be liberated from all adverse circumstances simply by seriously engaging in devotional service. How this devotional service develops and becomes mature is explained here. In the beginning, one has to perform his prescribed duties with a clean mind. Clean consciousness means Krishna consciousness. One has to perform his prescribed duties in Krishna consciousness. There is no necessity of changing one's prescribed duties. One simply has to act in Krishna consciousness. In discharging Krishna conscious duties, one should determine whether by his professional or occupational duties, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is satisfied. In another place in the Bhagavatam, it is said, Swanustistaya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Everyone has some prescribed duties to perform, but the perfection of such duties will be reached only if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is satisfied by such actions. For example, Arjuna's prescribed duty was to fight, and the perfection of his fighting was tested by the satisfaction of Krishna. Krishna wanted him to fight, and when he fought for the satisfaction of the Lord, that was the perfection of his professional devotional duty. On the other hand, when contrary to the wish of Krishna, he was not willing to fight, that was imperfect. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, pranams.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji.
If
one wants to perfect his life, he should discharge his prescribed duties for the satisfaction of Krishna. One must act in Krishna consciousness, for such action will never produce any reaction. Animitta nimittena. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yajnartat karmano anyatra. All activities should be performed simply for yajna or the satisfaction of Vishnu. Anything done otherwise, without the satisfaction of Vishnu or yajna, produces bondage. So here it is also prescribed by Kapila Muni that one can transcend material entanglement by acting in Krishna consciousness, which means seriously engaging in devotional service. This serious devotional service can develop by hearing for long periods of time. Chanting and hearing is the beginning of the process of devotional service. One should associate with devotees and hear from them about the Lord's transcendental appearance, activities, disappearance, instructions, etc. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Yeah, last paragraph. Yeah.
There are two kinds of Shruti or scripture. One is spoken by the Lord, and the other is spoken about the Lord and his devotees. Bhagavad Gita is the former, and Shrimad Bhagavatam the latter. One must hear these scriptures repeatedly from reliable sources in order to become fixed in serious devotional service. Through engagement in such devotional service, one becomes freed from the contamination of Maya. It is stated in the Shrimad Bhagavatam that hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead cleanses the heart of all contamination caused by the influence of the three modes of material nature. By continuous, regular hearing, the effects of the contamination of lust and greed to enjoy or lord it over material nature diminish. And when lust and greed diminish, one then becomes situated in the mode of goodness. This is the stage of Brahman realization or spiritual realization. In this way, one becomes fixed on the transcendental platform. Remaining fixed on the transcendental platform is liberation from material entanglement. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Can you go back to the, yes. Can you go back to the 21 itself, the shloka and the purport? So here, this is the answer which Bhagavan is giving. Krishna came in the Vishnu form, and then he is addressing to in the Kapil Dev form, and then he is addressing to his mother, because Devahoti wanted to ask, what is that? We are all in the material conditioning, and but the soul is in spiritual nature. But the soul, although it is powerful enough, it is very potent. It is having a spiritual nature, but still it is getting influenced by the material nature, and material particularly the three modes of nature. And three modes of nature also, although it appears very, very small in the sense that, oh, only three modes. What is that? Goodness, passion, ignorance. But actually, this goodness, ignorance, passion multiplies into, Acharya said, it multiplies up to 81 varieties. Like suppose the same goodness you can practice with a mixture of the passion, goodness with ignorance. So you're having a mode of goodness, but you're mixing up with something else. Like that, the combination goes on. So 3 into 3 becomes 9, and 9 into 9 again becomes 81. So like this, just like how we mix the colors in the paint, the three basic colors are yellow, blue, and red. But you can multiple varieties of colors are emanating. So like that, she wants to know, and she's asking that particularly for devotees like us. I mean, it's not that she was not aware of it; she was fully realized soul, but she's inquiring to the Lord, that is His Son, just to make sure that we also get the message home. And Prabhupada also very so detailedly he is giving the narration in this summary, and he's been repeatedly telling this right from the first book of Bhagavad Gita, from the first introduction. if you go on to the next books, whatever he wrote, small books, everywhere, these matters have been hammered, that how soul is getting entangled and how it has to get released. And the same thing, even Bhagavatam also, so many shlokas we find, Bhagavad Gita also, so many shlokas we find that how to get liberated from this predicament, just like the fish out of the water. We are all like right now struggling like a fish out of the water. Our natural place is to live in the water or in the spiritual world, but we have come out of it for various reasons, by our own modes of nature acting, and also our own desires, basically. And the most important desire among all the six material afflictions, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, the envy, because we have been envy about the Lord, because as a nature, the human nature or the material nature is to enjoy, is to own, and is to be glorified. So these are the three, which actually we forget that it is actually these three are the domain of the Lord, Supreme Lord. But we as a tiny Jivatma, we want to claim that position, and that's why we are suffering. So here now he's coming to the point and say that you can get liberated. I mean, liberation means not just moksha. Liberation means from going back to Godhead also. We need to look at it, because it is here talking about the bhakti, the devotional service. Devotional service means it is going back and then eternal serving to the Lord. And then, so what is the solution he's giving? By seriously discharging devotional service and thereby hearing for a long time. So you have to hear. Shravanam. Shravanam is the basis of all the 9 angas of practice of devotional service, which Prahlad gave. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu Pada Sevanam, then Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So amongst all these 9, Shravanam is the one which actually can purify. Rest of the other things, of course, it is also purifying, but this is most important. Only by Shruti, Shravanam, attentively hearing, and from a pure realized soul, we can be purified. Our consciousness can be purified. And secondly, by executing one's prescribed duty. What is our prescribed duty? The constitutional position of the soul is the eternal servitor of the Lord. There will be no reaction. Then there will be, this is called akarma. Normally, when we do a good deed, it will become a karma. It's called a pious deed, punya karma. So this will give pious results. But if you do a bad, it has become a dushkarma, or it could be a vikarma. So like this. But what we need to do is akarma. Akarma is where there is no reaction. That means you will not have reaction, because sometimes if you think that being in mode of goodness, we do some punya karya and get some pious credits, but unfortunately that also will get entangled, and we might come back to the material world ages after ages. So this way you'll be free from contamination. So like Bhagavatam gives one example, one classic story of a great devotee of the Lord. He Brahmana, he has good riches, and then he want to donate again to the people. And so what he does is he gives a cow to another Brahmana who is in need of that cow, and that cow which is there with the Brahmana who has got the gift, he is making use of that cow, and then he is tending it. But unfortunately, that cow goes and it comes back to the same original Brahmana who donated it. And this which cow which has come back has donated to another Brahmana by mistake, because identified he made a mistake of donating the same cow to another Brahmana. Now it's a typical dharma.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, your voice is
Your
again
voice
good.
is breaking, Prabhuji.
Now the person who lost the cow, he came back and then asked, see that my cow has come back to you, so you have to give me. Breaking? Okay. Haribol, Hare Krishna.
It is okay now, Prabhu. Yes,
Voice
it is
is
okay.
Is
breaking.
it okay?
In between it was breaking, Prabhu. At the moment it is okay. Hare Krishna.
I see. So like this, the same cow comes back, and now the first person Brahmana who lost the cow is asking for it, and the second person also comes and asks for it. So that way he is stuck. He can either take it back, claim it back from him, from the second person, because that is also donated. If he takes it back from the second person, then the second person will get offended. So like this, but unfortunately, had he done the seva, the dana in the name of taking Krishna's name, Krishna Arpanamastu, then that reaction would have been counteracted, because everything is using in the service of Krishna. So there is no material affliction, no punya or papa. So that way, Prabhupada is explaining here also in the first paragraph. He is talking about the conditioned life. Conditioned life begins only after one is infected by the modes of material nature. So that infection is so we have to safeguard against that infection, like any disease which comes by a viral or a bacteria. So we can get contaminated if the virus is stronger, and if you don't have the immune system. So to develop the immune system, what we have to do? Chant Hare Krishna mantra, because that is a purificatory process. And Prabhupada gives the example of how, suppose in a jail, jailer is there, the chief jailer. He is working on behalf of the government, taking care of the jail and taking care of the inmates. So just because he's in the jail, it does not mean that he's contaminated. He's still aloof, because he's just doing his duty. So similarly, although we are in this contaminated place, we can still stay away from this material affliction by being Krishna consciousness. Like the same jailer who is working for the government and getting the salary or getting the benefits, getting the position. Similarly, we have to simply work for Krishna. Then that material contamination will not be there, although living in a dangerous situation. And Prabhupada also gives that example of the lotus flower, how the lotus flower, pankaja, it's called pankaja. Panka means actually it's a dirty, muddy water. And from that which is born, that is lotus, pankaja. Although it is born from this dirty water, it is still not affected. It still maintains its purity. So like that, we have to work in such a way that although mixed with the material muddy water, it remains pure and clean, and which is mentioned by animitta nimittena, without any material contamination. And dharma swadharmena amalatmana. So by doing your prescribed duty, swadharma, you can remain pure, amala. And then Prabhupada talks about how devotees have to do seriously. Bhagavatam also says, akama sarmakama va mokshakama udarati tivrena bhakti yogena. Tivra, very seriously, with undisturbed and undeviated, unmotivated devotional service, we can achieve. So Bhagavatam gives that shloka. And also here Prabhupada is mentioning about that Ata Shri Krishna Namadi. No, this is Swanasthitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhim Haritoshnam. So that Haritoshnam, that all our activity should be meant for pleasing the Lord. There is one more shloka, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adokshaja Ahaituki Apratihata Eyatma Suprasidati. So like this, he's mentioning what is that prescribed act, what is that we need to do. Like similarly how Arjuna was protected by the Lord, because he chose Krishna as his guide, and he accepted Krishna's words, and then he fought for his for the battlefield. I mean, that is all for the supreme pleasure of the Lord. I mean, actually, Arjuna initially didn't have that enthusiasm, or he was thinking that he will get papa karma, he will get all bad results like that. He was thinking on a bodily platform. But Krishna corrected that by saying him that you have to do it as a duty to me. And also in 8th chapter, he gives this, Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. You do your act by constantly remembering me. Then you will come back to me. So like that. Because everything else, what we do in this material world is imperfect. It will going to give imperfect result. So what is going to be perfect is only the supernatural transcendence of the Lord. So that's what Prabhupada also gives that. And then also quotes this Ignartat Karmana Onyatra Loko Ayam Karma Bandanaha Tadartha Karma Kaunteya Mukta Sangha Samachara. In the 3rd chapter, he says, whatever yagnas you do to the yagna Purusha, that is me, Krishna. Otherwise, it lead to Karma Bandhana. So it will lead to this mental entanglement. So I mean, and for that again, Prabhupada gives what is the most important thing is chanting and hearing. So in the initial, we learned about hearing, and here comes the chanting, which is kirtanam. And when you do chanting and the kirtanam and the shravanam, automatically smaranam also will come. So these three, smaranam is the third, which is actually remembering the Lord. That is also very important. And then Prabhupada quotes about that Shruti of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, which are like the two pillars, and they are so reliable for us and really giving us the real knowledge. And if we sincerely take shelter of the scriptures, of course, Chaitanya Charitamrita is also there, which is an advanced study. After we complete these two scriptures, we'll actually come out of this three modes. So Bhagavatam also in 13th chapter, Krishna says that Mam cha avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So sagunan samatitaitan. So you have to overcome these three modes. Only then you can be in the bhakti mode, or the vishuddha sattva, or the shuddha sattva, which is actually the vasudeva sattva. So that is bhakti yoga. So when we are doing any bhakti yoga, it means we are transcended. Savai gunan samatitaitan. We are transcended that even the mode of goodness. Because as I discussed earlier, mode of goodness also is not a good, it does not give a good bhakti factor. Of course, goodness is required so that we remain peace, we remain calm, and when we remain in a tolerant position, and we remain in humble, we chose good good way of living. So all this is there, goodness is there, but what we need when Krishna consciousness is beyond that goodness, which is actually the Vasudeva Sattva. So like this way, we have to transcend that, even the mode of goodness, because mode of goodness generally means people think that, oh, I'm doing good deeds, I'm doing some alms, I'm giving some donation, I'm doing some puja, I'm doing some seva. But for what? What is the ultimate result? If you're expecting a result out of it and you want to enjoy the results, the fruits to your own self and to your family, your children, your members, like that, that is of no use. So that's why we have to see that all these activities are dedicated. Samarpayami Krishnam, Samarpayami Krishna Arpanamastu. Then it will get contracted. So that should be the mood. So anything we buy a new item, a new gadget, or a new cloth, or something, we get something new. We have to first offer it to the Lord, like how we offer before we take the food, we offer it the bhog to the Lord, and see that he's satisfied. And once Krishna is satisfied, entire universe will be satisfied. Krishna tushta, jagat tushta. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. And we'll go to the next shloka, 22.
Hare Krishna. Divya Kuku Mataji, you read the shloka. Krishnamurti Prabhu, you do the translation, and Anita Mataji will do the purport. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Pranams.
Yes, Mataji.
ज्ञानेन दृष्टतत्त्वेन वैराग्येन बलीयसा तपोयुक्तेन योगेन तीव्रेणात्मसमाधिना. Shall I read the meanings also, Mataji, Prabhu?
No, just the translation and the purpose.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranams Prabhuji. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. This devotional service has to be performed strongly in perfect knowledge and with transcendental vision. One must be strongly renounced and must engage in austerity and perform mystic yoga in order to be firmly fixed in self-absorption. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be performed blindly due to material emotion or mental concoction. It is specifically mentioned here that one has to perform devotional service in full knowledge by visualizing the absolute truth. We can understand about the absolute truth by evolving transcendental knowledge, and the result of such transcendental knowledge will be manifested by renunciation. That renunciation is not temporary or artificial, but it is very strong. It is said that development of Krishna consciousness from is exhibited by proportionate material detachment or vairagya. Mataji, can you just skip it? Because when you scroll, it's getting confused.
Now it's okay.
It is said that the development of Krishna consciousness is exhibited by proportion, material detachment, or vairagya. If one does not separate himself from material enjoyment, it is to be understood that he is not advancing in Krishna consciousness. Renunciation in Krishna consciousness is so strong that it cannot be deviated by any attractive illusion. One has to perform devotional service in full tapasya or austerity. One should fast on the 2 Ekadeshi days, which fall on the 11th day of waxing and waning moon, and on the birthdays of Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are many such fasting days. Yogena means by controlling these senses and mind. Yogendra Samyamaha. Yogena implies that one is seriously absorbed in the self and is able by development of knowledge to understand his constitutional position in relationship with the super self. In this way, one becomes fixed in devotion service and his faith cannot be shaken by any material allurement. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So here in this shloka, Bhagavan is stressing on the object of first is have to with perfect knowledge, and you should have the transcendental vision that what is going to be like. We talk about the Sambandha Gnana, Abhideya Gnana, and the Prayojana. The Sambandha is the relationship with the Lord. Abhideya is how to execute the towards that goal, and what is the benefit, the goal which I get by doing this service. And for that one must strongly renounce tapa yuktena, tapa. So vairagyena macha tapa yuktena, and engage in austerity. Then he can be absorbed, fully absorbed. So this way, Prabhupada mentions that the more we withdraw from our material senses, material applications, material afflictions, and enjoying the material nature, then we can advance more in the spiritual. So like it is like the two, if you're holding two strings in your hand, so one you have to release and one you have to tighten it. So once you pull it yourself towards yourself should be the spiritual one effort, and the other one is release the one towards the material. It should go away from you. So Sanatana Goswami gives that example when it comes to humility. So, and what are the 6 steps in humility? The characteristics is that anukulasya sankalpa, then pratikulasya varjana. That you have to do. So, what is anukula for devotional service? You should accept that and wholeheartedly and do it. And what is not beneficial for your devotional service progress, you just reject it. Just slowly you release it. So, of course, it is not so easy. I mean, whole Bhakti Yoga, Prabhupada says that it is very easy. Bhakti Yoga is easy process, but difficult to practice. So we may say so many things, but it is very difficult to practice. So that practice, putting into practice is what matters, and that is where we have to be careful. And so that, of course, it all comes by regular association with the devotees and listening to the pure devotees like Prabhupada or many of the Guru Parampara. We have Vartamana Guru Parampara. So many Swamijis are there, and of course associating with the reading the Shastras, taking prasad. So like this, all these are the inputs, the right inputs, which will convert our material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. Which and the Vairagya is also mentioned, that where attachment to the material nature has to be renounced. So that way, the more we renounce from that, we can advance. Yeah. Prabhupada also mentions about the tapasya, which is like performing Ekadasi, and also fasting on the birth appearances of the Lord and his associates. So like all these things are very, very crucial to take us forward. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we'll go to the next shloka, Mataji, 23rd.
Hare Krishna. Shanti Mataji, you can read the shloka, and wonderful Krishna, Sindhu Mataji, you
Yes,
can do the
Mataji.
translation. And Chandana Mataji, you do the first para of purport, and the second para I will do if nobody else is there. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रकृति पुरुषस्येह दह्यमानादहर्निशम् Tiro bhavitri sanahaihi agneryonirivaranihi.
Hare Krishna. Pranams, Prabhuji. Sloka
Hare.
23. Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The influence of material nature has covered the living entity, and thus it is as if the living entity were always in a blazing fire. But by the process of seriously discharging devotional service, this influence can be removed, just as wooden sticks which cause a fire are themselves consumed by it.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Fire is conserved in wooden sticks, and when circumstances are favorable, the fire is ignited. But the wooden sticks, which are the cause of the fire, are also consumed by the fire if it is properly dealt with. Similarly, the living entity's conditional life of material existence is due to his desire to lord it over material nature and due to his envy of the Supreme Lord. Thus, his main diseases are that he wants to be one with the Supreme Lord or he wants to become the Lord of material nature. The karmis try to utilize the resources of material nature and thus become its Lord and enjoy sense gratification. And the jnanis, the salvationists, who have become frustrated in enjoying the material resources, want to become one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or merge into the impersonal effulgence. These two diseases are due to material contamination. Material contamination can be consumed by devotional service because in devotional service, these two diseases, namely the desire to lord it over material nature and the desire to become one with the Supreme Lord, are absent. Therefore, the cause of material existence is at once consumed by the careful discharge of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now, Kishori Mataji, you can read the second paragraph.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
A devotee in full Krishna consciousness appears superficially to be a great karmi, always working, but the inner significance of the devotees' activities is that they are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. This is called bhakti or devotional service. Arjuna was apparently a fighter, but when by his fighting, he satisfied the sense of Lord Krishna. He became a devotee. Since a devotee also engages in philosophical research to understand the supreme person as he is, his activities may thus appear to be like those of a mental speculator. But actually, he is trying to understand the spiritual nature and transcendental activities. Thus, although the tendency for philosophical speculation exist, the material effects of fruitive activities and empiric speculation do not, because this activity is meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So we'll go back to the shloka. Yeah. So here is a very good analogy. The Lord Himself is giving, like how the fire the fire is there hidden in the firewood, a dry firewood, and by touching of the friction or the movement of the firewood in the forest, the same firewood can create a fire, and that same fire will actually consume the wood also. So the fire is inherent in the wood, and it is also the cause of its destruction. So like that, living entity should perform in such a serious way that although it is it is so consumed that it actually gets completely liberated. The condition in which it was initially trapped in the material nature, it is now liberated. So like that, Prabhupada gives this example. And so as he says that similarly, the living entity's conditional life of material existence is due to his desire to lord it over material nature and due to his envy. Like earlier also I discussed that among the Arishta Vargas, the three factors which affect us is that we want to lord over the nature, like how the Lord is lording over. We also want to lord it over, control. And next is we want to enjoy more. And then third is to own So these are the cause, and all that will lead to the envy. We are envious of the Lord's position. We think that we also want to become like Lord. We want to equate ourselves, but it is actually not possible. And that way, Prabhupada gives here that these are the disease. One is that we want to one with the Supreme Lord, or want to be the Lord of the material nature. So we want to get that position. So this is our main disease. So that can come out only if we come out of our false ego. What is our false ego? False ego is that we want to lord over, we want to control, we want to enjoy. But actually, our real ego is to be the servitor of the Lord. So that way, we have to come. I mean, Purandaradasa was asked by his guru, Vyastirtha, that when you will go back to Godhead. So he said, Neenu Yavaga Vaikuntak Yava Hoktiri in the Kannada. Then he said, Nanu hodare hodenu. So he said, I may go whenever, it happens like that. He just casually, he told, Nanu hodare hodenu. I may go or I may not go, like that in colloquial Kannada. But actually, what the inner meaning he said was, Nanu hodare hodenu. Means Nanu, Nanna, my, Aham. If my Aham goes, I will go. Like that. He gave a wonderful reply. And then Prabhupada gives here that devotees are also practicing Bhakti Yoga, and it appears that we are doing Karma Yoga. It appears we are doing Jnana Yoga. It appears that we are doing some mental speculation, reading scriptures, trying to understand, and doing some karmic activity. But actually, since we are adding Krishna into it, every activity, it is actually the real bhakti. So that is the difference. Whereas the other common people who are doing Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Karma Yoga are purely doing it bereft of Krishna. That is the difference. They want to enjoy the fruits. Whereas in Bhakti Yoga, we add Krishna into it, and then we offer the results to Krishna wholeheartedly and in advance, and so that there is none of the results to come back to us. Of course, Krishna will give us, in leaps and bounds, whatever we want. It could be material desires, he will fulfill. If it is spiritual desires, he will fulfill. But Krishna knows where to put a stop, where to give more or to give less, and he makes the living entity absolutely enjoy that position. So this way, philosophically also, we may look as if doing a Jnana Yoga, Bhakti, Karma Yoga, or a Dhyana Yoga. When we are doing chanting, we are actually doing Dhyana Yoga. So the difference is we are adding Krishna, whereas the other karmic person may not be adding Krishna or may have different concepts of Supreme Lord. So this is the difference, and that way we are protected by the Lord. Okay, so we'll go to the next shloka, 24 and then 25.
Shanti Mataji can read the shloka. Vasudha Mataji translation. Sorry, Archana Mataji do the translation. And I will do the Bhakti. Hare Krishna. Vasudha Mataji, you can do the shloka. And Archana Mataji, translation, I'll do the Bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Bhukta bhoga parityakta drishta dosha cha nitya saha neshwarasya subham dhatte swe mahimni stitasya cha. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Archana Mataji. Subharao Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Translation.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. No, sorry, Prabhuji, Mataji will do.
Hare Krishna. Translation by
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. By discovering the faultiness of his desiring to lord it over material nature, and by therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. Hare Krishna.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Because the living entity is not actually the enjoyer of the material resources, his attempt to lord it over material nature is at the ultimate issue frustrated. As a result of frustration, he desires more power than the ordinary living entity and thus wants to merge into the existence of the supreme enjoyer. In this way, he develops a plan for greater enjoyment. When one is actually situated in devotional service, that is his independent position, less intelligent men cannot understand the position of the eternal servant of the Lord. Because the word servant is used, they become confused. They cannot understand that this servitude is not the servitude of this material world. To be the servant of the Lord is the greatest position. If one can understand this and can thus revive one's original nature of eternal servitorship of the Lord, one stands fully independent. A living entity's independence is lost by material contact. In the spiritual field, he has full independence, and therefore there is no question of becoming dependent upon the three modes of material nature. This position is attained by a devotee, and therefore he gives up the tendency for material enjoyment after seeing its faultiness. The difference between a devotee and an impersonalist is that an impersonalist tries to become one with the Supreme so that he can enjoy without impediment, whereas a devotee gives up the entire mentality of enjoying and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is his conditional glorified position. At that time, he is Ishvara, fully independent. The real Ishvara or Ishwar or Ishvaraha, Parama, the supreme Ishvara or the supreme independent is Krishna. The living entity is Ishvara only when engaged in the service of the Lord. In other words, transcendental pleasure derived from loving service to the Lord is actual independence. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Haribol. So here again, we understand that the common thread which is running is actually the our propensity to enjoy. So if it is propensity to enjoy is more, then obviously we'll get affected, contaminated. And Prabhupada mentions that how a difference between an impersonalist and a personalist. In the impersonalist stage, he wants to enjoy the resources, but he knows that it cannot give him satisfaction because there is a element of jara or vyadi, the diseases and the aging process. So up to certain age only we can enjoy our senses. Beyond that, by aging process, our senses also become weakened. And second thing is, the more you enjoy, the more you get disease. Like for example, somebody who is addicted to some alcoholic drinks or something like that, very soon, within few years of his enjoyment, by 10 years or 15 years, his body will weaken, his liver will develop cirrhosis or some disease, something like that. Some will affect, and he will suffer. So now he has to again come back to the normal. He has to renounce that or reject it. So like that, if somebody is affected for eating more, say non-vegetarians or things like that, then his kidney or his stomach, I think, or he will get sugar or some of these problems. So diseases are there to be there, they're bound to be there, and he will get frustrated. And because of frustration, he will leave it. But if he comes back and diverts his mind towards developing the inner consciousness, the Krishna consciousness, he can survive. Otherwise, just by being frustrated and he want to merge with the Lord, like an impersonalist, because he's not able to enjoy further, he want to go with the Lord and he want to merge. It doesn't make sense, because ultimately, as a the living entity's Swadharma is to render service. Only by rendering service he can come out of that entanglement. Otherwise, if the service is not there, then you are doomed. You cannot. You will become like a lazy person. A lazy person will not get any benefit. But a person who is active and hardworking, even if it has a little seva, just typical, the seva of Andal, who pleased Lord Narayana, so that all that she was doing every day was just preparing garland. That's all. Only one garland she used to do. But that one garland of so much of love and devotion and so much of bhakti she used to do, Lord used to love it. So he always, one day, if that garland is not there or something, if it is delayed or something, he would get upset. So that is one small, swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So little service, but service has to be there. Without service, you will become a lame duck and you will suffer. There is no progress. So once a person understands that service attitude, and because now, even in material nature also, even it could be a big politician, a prime minister of India, what is he doing ultimately? He is serving the voters. He is serving the citizens. If he is not having the serving attitude, and if he just wants to enjoy that position himself or his family, who will vote for him? When he will get re-elected, he will lose his elections. So like that. So service is there, whether in the spiritual world or in the material world, service is there. But the question is, unto whom we are placing that service, to whom it is addressed to. And if it is addressed to the Supreme Lord, then nothing like it. I mean, we get the supreme benefits. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we'll go to the next shloka. 25.
Hare Krishna. Subbarao Prabhuji, you do the shloka and the translation, and Padma Mataji do the purport. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Subbarao Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu, you do the shloka and the translation.
Mute, Mata. That is the problem. Can I, Mataji?
Yeah, shloka and
Hello?
translation. Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, read.
27-25.
Yeah, 20.
Yadha yadahya prati buddhasya prasvapo brahmanardha brut sayeva prati buddhasya navai bohaya kalpate. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Translation, shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, you can read.
Translation. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the condition of dreaming, when one's consciousness is almost covered, one may see many unfavorable things which cause disturbance or anxiety, but upon awakening, although he remembers what happened in the dream, he is not disturbed. Similarly, the position of self-realization or understanding of one's real relationship with the Supreme Lord makes one completely satisfied, and the three modes of material nature, which are the cause of all disturbances, cannot affect him. In contaminated consciousness, one sees everything to be for his own enjoyment. But in pure consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he sees that everything exists for the enjoyment of the Supreme Enjoyer. That is the difference between the dream state and wakefulness. The state of contaminated consciousness is compared to dream consciousness, and Krishna consciousness is compared to the awakened stage of life. Actually, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, the only absolute enjoyer is Krishna. One who can understand that Krishna is the proprietor of all the three worlds and that he is a friend of everyone is peaceful and independent. As long as a conditioned soul does not have this knowledge, he wants to be the enjoyer of everything. He wants to be a humanitarian or philanthropist and open hospitals and schools for his fellow human beings. This is all illusion, for one cannot benefit anyone by such material activities. If one wishes to benefit his fellow brother, he must awaken his dormant Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious position is that of Prati Buddha, which means pure consciousness. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Yes, my dear boy. You could get a point, huh? Oh. You teach me the point, you learn now.
Hare Bol. I think some. Okay, so now the next aspect is talking about how by being in awakened stage, Krishna conscious activities, we are saved. We cannot. It will not bewilder us. So we have to stay in this state of Krishna consciousness as much as possible. So that is the solution Lord is giving. Because if you're in the dreaming stage, or if you're in the sleeping stage, sleeping is almost like ignorance. You're completely not aware of anything happening. In a dreaming stage, you are in a state of getting affected by this material desires. Because what we dream in our sleep also is that what we have hankered for, what we want to enjoy, or what we have seen something, or we have experienced something, the same thing keeps repeating in our consciousness, and that is how we dream. So like this. But that dream stage is actually the affected or the material stage. So, for example, Prabhupada gives one classic example of how a child, when the baby is say 1 or 2 years old, when the child is very, very young, it is always getting a fancy for the toys. For the boys, it could be a vehicle, a car or a motorbike or something like that. They will easily get attracted. Whereas for the girls, it will be like a Barbie doll or some teddy bear or something like that. So it is almost like they're not separable. They're not separable. It could be the child may if it likes the toy, it could be paltry 10 rupees or 20 rupees, but it'll cherish and it'll treat that as if it is a treasure. The whole life is dependent on that toy. It will not live. In fact, in my one of my daughter's early days, while she was just on 1.5 year, 2 year, we had purchased her one slipper, one Hawaii chappal. That was about 10 rupees or 20 rupees on the footpath. But that chapel was so, my God, wherever she used to go, she has to go with the chapel. You should go to a party or a marriage hall also, you should go to the temple. Go to a temple, so like that. Once we had gone to our uncle's house, and then she was asleep. And then while coming in a two-wheeler or something, that one of the chapel had fallen down, without our knowledge. And the morning she got up and then she searched for it so much that only one chapel is there. The another one is missing. She made such a hue and cry that my father had to go back to my uncle's house and then bring back that chapel. It was fallen down in his balcony or somewhere there. So like that. And then once we got it, although it was just rupees 20 rupees, 15, 20 rupees, but it was so much cherished. And so like that, this is how we should develop that consciousness, that our temperament should be in serving Krishna. Once that kind of absorption is there, then we can easily achieve success. In fact, there is one very famous pastime of Nachiyar Bibi. I don't know, many of you would have heard. This is a real pastime which happened about 500, 600 years back, or maybe 800 years back, when Ramanujacharya was there. So in Melkote, as we know, there is a Narasimha temple and a Chelva Narayana Swami temple. So here, Ramanujacharya spent about half of his life in this Melkote. It's in Bangalore, about 2 hours drive from Bangalore. Narasimha temple is there. Narasimha Lord is there. Also, Yoga Narasimha is there, and Prahlad's he did his penance there. In fact, Bhakta Prahlad. So there was that time ruled by these Muslim kings, the Khilji family and all that. And when they were ruling here, there was this girl who was actually attached to one of the nicest deities of Narayana, Chelva Narayana. Chelva in Kannada means beautiful, lovely. So that Murti she was attracted, and that being a Muslim also, she did not want to let her eyesight. And then she by taking the permission from the altar, it was taken, and it was taken by her. And she was always playing with the deity, with that wonderful form, bathing him or dressing him. So like that every time. And these people were thinking, what has happened to my daughter? She has become crazy because of this Murti. And what the king was so upset, because it was against idol worship, in their religion. So he took that Murti back, and then back to Delhi, his sultanate, and then he dumped it in one of the dungeons. And it was just lying there. But this girl was so much attached that she always wanted it, and she fell sick because her more ornamental object is not with her. So she fell sick, and then they tried so many medicines, nothing could work out. And then by divine intervention of the Lord, Ramanujacharya went there, because the deity from the altar has been taken away, and all the religious practices were not happening. So he was very, very upset that this has happened. But what to do? It was under that Muslim rule. So he went personally, and then he begged with the king and said that, no, I want this deity back, because it is coming in my dreams, and we cannot, without serving this deity, our whole dharma will be lost, and we all will be affected by it, including you, like that. But then the king said, okay, you go there, it's in the dungeon, you have to search. The moment Ramanujacharya went there near the dungeon, he was trying to find out in the dungeon where it is, but the deity leapt from that place wherever it was. The moment he saw Ramanujacharya, the deity leapt from there and then landed onto his hands. And then immediately he prostrated to the deity, and then he brought it back. And also he made sure that a girl also comes back. And then she took the permission from the king that, your daughter is a great devotee of the Lord. We don't know from which janmas what all she has done, pious deed. So allow her to to worship this deity. And then they brought back and consecrated it. And even today in that Chelunarayana temple in Melkote, their Nachiyar Bibis, her idol is also kept, because she was considered as one of the topmost devotee. After that, she became completely surrendered, and she was fully dedicated to serving the deity. And even today we can see that. And once in a year or something, they do some special puja in her name. And although Pakka Sri Vaishnava temple, but we have that Muslim girl Nachiyar Bibi's idol, and then she's remembered. So like this, what all for all this happened for what? Just the attraction, just that commitment to serve, that dedication, that love. Haribol. So this is a wonderful pastime just to inspire us. Of course, it's all a very, very tough task for us. It's like climbing Mount Everest, but we have to put our small steps. Haribol. So with this, I'll end today's session. If any doubts, clarifications, or some realizations, they can put forth.
Haribol. Any questions? Subbarao Prabhu and Divya.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Mataji.
No, I just wanted to know the name of that Muslim girl. I couldn't get it.
Nachiyar Bibi.
Nachiyar. Okay.
Nachiyar means one who is dancing.
Acha. Okay, so we'll end the session here. Thank you, Prabhu.
One minute, Mataji, just one very short question.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you just now we read about the sleeping state. What about people, dreaming state? What about those who don't dream at night? I don't know, just for curiosity.
No, generally dream comes only if you are completely, if you're fully satisfied in your life, you're enjoying, then only. But for a person who is not getting sleep, suffering from amnesia, will not get any dream.
No, but there are people also who sleep very, very Prabhuji, but they don't dream. So what is that state called?
Yeah. Actually, I think it is susupti. I'm not sure. There are 4 or 5 stages in the sleep itself, and one of them is, I think, the susupti, where you are asleep, but you may not get the dreams. So it is also a state of kind of a idle sleep. I mean, it's said that scientifically, or what we have heard, is that we get dreams only when you get a deep sleep, and when the REMs or the vibrations in the brain starts repeating itself, then these dreams can appear. So somebody who is not getting that deep sleep may not get the dreams. So of course, that is also a medical condition. It's a diseased condition, actually, if you're not in a dreaming position. So like that, I've heard about this, like Jagruti is awakening, then Susupti, then so like this, there are various stages. I'm not able to get that exactly, but generally a person who is hale and healthy, who's getting good sleep, can actually dream. Of course, again, if the desires are so much, and if their hankerings are so much, then it might be not conducive for a person. But a healthy person having a desire, and then sometimes if you are able to dream, Prabhupada tells that if you are able to dream your guru or your devotees or the lordship, then it is very, very considered very, very good omen. That means you're really Krishna consciousness is getting advanced. So that's my understanding, Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I think sometimes devotees do get devotees coming in there, or deity, or if you have traveled to some pilgrimages, I think that is the time you keep on getting reminded, or maybe you're hearing some kirtan, and so like that, or if you have met with some very good sannyasis, and if you are having some intimate affection with them, obviously, it's bound to happen. In fact, I have experienced
Yeah.
it so many times that we keep getting these good dreams. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll end the session. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for taking
Yes,
our
yes,
class,
Mataji.
even though you are traveling and you are not at your place. So thank
Correct.
you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
kripa
kripa sindhubhyascha
sindhubhyascha patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Anantakoti
Namo
Vaishnavindiki
Anantakoti
Jai.
Vaishnavindiki
Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
Ki
Srila Prabhupada
Srila
ki Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Gurudev
Thank you,
Ki
Thank you,
Prabhuji. Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Shall I end the
Hare
session,
Krishna
Prabhu?
to all devotees.
Yes, Mataji, Haribol.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Haribol. Hare Krishna
Hare
to all.
Krishna.